What's up, trash talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
Here is a firm believer in all men are created equal, but not all men live equal. That is why there's a certain select number of people in the DoD who decided to jump out of airplanes. And yes, we are better than you. 100%. Now, don't be the first triggered pansy to say, well, airborne's not relevant. You haven't jumped since World War II. Well, that's not accurate, for one. And two, it's like having a jalopy or a 68 Mustang. Well, a 68 Mustang's no longer relevant. Doesn't matter. It's still a better car than yours. So take it easy this National Airborne Day and just accept that we are better than you.
So, two things for today's Honesty Cat. First thing, how do all my boys from the 101st feel knowing that the Army decided that instead of actually making you airborne, they would just create a whole new division that's airborne because you just aren't cutting it? It sucks. Thing number two, for all the folks who were like, oh, airborne is irrelevant, doesn't even matter, they're making a whole new division of just airborne people because they're relevant. Think about that. How's that feel? Does it hurt a little bit? I hope it hurts a little bit.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
Happy Saturday, Gruntworks Nation. What's going on, VTT? Welcome to episode 161 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Navy veteran Dr. Walsh with Wounded Warrior Project. And as usual, I'm here with Buddy and Nick. Happy Saturday. What's up,
Happy
everybody?
Saturday. Man.
Hey, cheers.
Just loving it. Loving
Nice.
it. I was a little worried about today, seeing as we got two people from Alabama on here
Roll
at
Tide.
the same time.
Roll Tide.
Yeah. I figured it would turn into.
Turns out they're both pretty smart, though, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's all a big. It's all a big fake. You know, it's a feint operation. Alabama's done a great job of just confusing everybody that they're all stupid, and then they're actually really smart. So
Sneak attack. That's what we call it. Sneak attack. That's what we call it in Alabama.
yeah. But I was worried because whenever we get a bunch of Marines on here, like it's go Big Orange. Who the heck's that? So it stands to P. That's good. Pretty sure you sit down. Anyways, I'm worried because when you get Marines on here, they can't form a sentence with them because it all rah rah rah. And there's all this stuff.
Just make noises. Yeah. Grunting
like,
noises. Yeah.
Man, how many times are we gonna hear Roll Tide today? I was pretty scared.
It depends on how many times you ask a question, Roll Tide.
Roll
Oh, look at that. Somebody named Erin Scanlon. Don't know who that is, watching from DC. So she's on there. And then we got Stands to P. Says go Big Orange.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Both.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good YouTube plug. We are Shadow Banned on YouTube. So if you are watching this, go to YouTube. All right. Like it. Follow.
Subscribe. Give us a like.
Yeah. Obviously, Erin doesn't subscribe to us or follow us on any platform because she asked us when the show was live, where's the link? Erin, if you followed us, it would just pop up, but it is what it is.
So we won't hold it against you. I'm not going to make you buy me a drink next time I'm in DC. No big deal. So yeah, that's how that's going, Dave. You're doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So,
But we're switching it up. You're doing your honesty cap, huh? You're bringing the heat today?
yeah. I just wanted. No.
Earl,
I'm going
guys.
Book of Earl. Book of Earl. Read the script.
Yeah.
Earl,
Dave's
yeah.
only been on the show
Bless
for like
I didn't
2
read the
hours.
script.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Like,
Yeah.
unreal. So again, those of you watching for the first time, this is probably the most truth you're going to hear in your lifetime whenever the Book of Earl comes out. So like, it's honestly, if you just recorded it and listened to it, your life would get drastically better. However, I want to bring up a couple things that have triggered me because it's been a while since I did the Book of Earl. And again, these are from my own mistakes, my own failures, my
I'll
experience.
be back in 30 minutes.
Yeah, be back in 30 minutes. No, trust me, it won't be that long. However, I want to talk about, the bell curve, like Buddy said again, where we got the left and the right, and you got the people in the middle. Those of you listening on the podcast, it's bell curve. Can't watch me do my drawing, right? So it's like that. The immigration crisis. All right, like I am on a border town. I fly out of El Paso twice a month. Okay, and what happens a lot of times is a lot of these people actually have sponsors. Notice I call them people, not like illegal aliens. They're fucking people, right? Right? They have sponsors, and then they get shipped off. I mean, if you then you got the other side, like Governor Abbott's just sending them all on buses to sanctuary cities. No, there's actually people that just go meet their family somewhere else, right? So I'm sitting next to a lady. She comes and she's got a little orange wristband on, and so that's a telltale sign in El Paso that she's just good. That's how they identify her in the airport. So she's sitting there next to me, and she doesn't speak a lick of English. And they put her in the business class because I'm kind of bougie like that now. I fly so much, I get business class. And the drink person comes by, right? And she can't, she doesn't like. She's like just you can tell she's terrified, right? And I was like, hey, like order something. I don't know what language she speaks. I don't know if she speaks Portuguese, if she's from Central America, Spanish. I have no idea. And so at least I want to give a shout out to the flight attendant. She had that interpreter thing on her phone, right? And the flight attendant's like, "What would you like to drink?" And I'm like, "No, you can get it. Like, I mean, actually, it's business class. You get booze if you want. Like, it's free." And so, like, I did my good Samaritan deed. I gave her my cookies. I don't big hero, big deal, whatever. But I turn around and look, and this kid's like poking the thing. Well, her kid's behind me, so they put they put her kid in the middle behind me, and I was like, "Hey." Grab the stewardess again. I was like, "Is that her kid?" And yeah. And so I was like, I switched seats with her, right? So she could sit next to her kid, right? And then Buddy and I, we always talk about this. What triggers us about airlines is just if you want to watch the downfall of society, just be on an airline, right? Watch how selfish and how rude people, right?
Accurate.
Right? That just like it's out of control. And so again, I'm still in that feel good mood. So right. So when I get up, because I helped her put her bag up, I dropped a couple 20s in her little sack that she had, right? And she didn't see me, and I gave it to her. And then as soon as I do that, I feel a boom, right, like that. And this guy just like almost trucks me over, even though the door's not even open, right? So of course I got my quit being a triggered pansy shirt on, right? Because that's my reminder when I'm traveling, right? And I'm like, I'm fucking triggered. Okay, like and then this goes into the second part of what I'm triggered about is like I go, "Hey," and he turns around and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, do you have a connection?" I go, "How many people on this fucking plane you think have a connection?" Right, like probably like 90% of them. I was like, "But hey, you go do you. In fact, let me carry your bag. I will carry your bag to your gate." Right, and now I'm making him feel real awkward by being kind of nice to him. And I'm like, "I'll carry your bag for you. That way you can like run, and maybe I'll get a cart and go a little faster." Right, so. Again, I don't know how many times we got to cover this, Buddy, but when you're on an airline, all right, everybody's got someplace to go. All right, that's why they're on a fucking plane, right? They're going somewhere, all right? So just calm down on the airplane, all right? And then again,
we all unload the same way from front to back.
Yeah,
just wait.
If you're fortunate enough to have money, you buy a better ticket so that you can get off first, right?
Or apparently just an orange wristband.
Wristband. Yeah.
Somebody would buy you a
get you there
ticket.
too.
But then again, they fly standby, right? So it's like they're hoping for a seat, and then your cheap ass couldn't buy a business seat that's trying to run up to the plane, so they gave it to this person who's flying standby, right? This what happens. Okay,
Well, first of all, hold on. Okay, for real, because now you're triggering me, and I'm wearing the Don't Be a Triggered Pansy shirt. They didn't just bump her up to business class. Somebody paid for that ticket. That's all of us who paid for that ticket. And her kid, who you were nice enough to give a seat to, that ticket was also paid for.
Yeah, but a standby. They didn't pay for a business class seat. They paid for a standby ticket.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. They walked from wherever they went to the border. But
so they deserve a plane flight.
Gotta calm down. Gotta calm down. I love that we got all this money that we're just throwing around.
First of all, the money's all digital now. It doesn't even really exist. All right, it's just numbers.
Yeah. True.
That's why we can kind of lose, 30 million in Ukraine. Yeah, there it goes. Right,
Yeah.
there you go. Where did that come from? Right, but it is. But I would like to say I would have been calmer. But here's the other thing that's triggering me. Maybe Dr. Walsh can help with this. And I'm definitely gonna text Aaron about this. But I haven't got my medication from the VA in about 3 months. Right? Ooh. Apparently, there's a 240 drugs that are just a United States shortage right now. Right? Mm-hmm. What triggers me about this is I only have one medication, and it takes me to call my congresswoman, which again, I'm on a different political spectrum than my congresswoman, but she is fucking awesome with veterans in El Paso. And like, if I write that office, it's like, bam, like I get an answer immediately. And then I get a follow-up.
It would be the first time.
Day. Yeah, exactly. And so like, I'm like, hey, can you find out why? And I have the best medication that the VA, I had to fight them for it because I could get it when I was active, but not in the VA because, oh no, we can't give you that. So Dr. Walsh, I get Dronabinol from the government. So it's weed, right? I get free weed. And like I'm sitting there, how am I not like they're looking for natural product. I'm like, what are you talking?
How much more natural can you get?
I can drive to New Mexico. It takes me 20 seconds, and there's a store right there.
You should just get an orange wristband. You can get a free fucking flight there.
Exactly. But to end the book of Earl, again, I've talked about this before, like I always do, because the 160 episodes, you can talk about the same shit that triggers you all the time. It's regardless of where you stand or who's paying for it or whatever, right? They're human beings. Right? Like, if you don't show care for them, then I don't know if I want to hang out with you. Now, if the argument's about who pays for it, okay, we can have that argument because that's something, whatever. But again, sometimes I spend like $250 at a bar, right? Like, and I feel like shit the next day. So if you do that, but you're complaining about buying a standby ticket, buddy, where do I draw? Stands to P says, where do I draw a line?
I can answer that.
We drew it. It's a fucking border.
No. Well, there's a line, right? There is a line, though. The line is that in the grand scheme of things, on the macro of the entire issue, you can have a stance that giving people free stuff and allowing your border to be open is a bad idea.
Right.
On a micro level, you can go, once they're here, they're still humans. Treat them like you would like to be treated. Mm-hmm. That lady and her kid aren't the people that made the policy that allowed them to get a free ticket. Right. The policy is annoying. The policy is robbing Americans. But that lady didn't make the policy. Yeah. She's just using a policy that we allowed to be made up. It's not her fault. She doesn't deserve anybody to be angry at her.
Like that.
But at the same time, I mean, you can be angry at your congressman. You can be angry at the people that make the policy and still treat people like people because people are human people. That's what they are. They're just humans. There's people. They're all trying. Just like when we went to Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever, you know what I mean? On a grander scheme, you can hate terrorism and hate terrorists, but treat people like they should be treated until they deserve to get treated a different way.
Nick and I used to get I used to get triggered, man, when some of the soldiers were just acting like douchebags with the kids and like civilians
I
over there. Like, bro,
legitimately once got out of my Humvee, climbed onto the hood and then the roof, and grabbed a gunner by his chin strap and told him that I would take his body armor and leave him in the middle of the SUJ if he thought that he was such a badass because he had a machine gun on top of a truck, because he was winging hard candies at like kids with a slingshot, calling himself giving them candy, and I was just like, oh no sir.
Nope.
No sir, because at the end of the day, people are people. Like even Iraqis, Afghanis, they didn't make that happen. They just
want to live their lives, bro.
Yeah.
They just want to live
They're
their lives.
just trying to live their lives. And all you're doing by winging hard candies and being a jerk on an airplane is making people.
You're creating more people that are going to be angry at you. Plain and simple.
What?
Drive down that road again tomorrow.
There's
Uncle's gonna have
probably
an
some
idea.
kind of theory that Dr. Walsh could expound on that would.
Yeah, there's got to be some kind of disease that we have that can be medicated to why we throw candy at kids or something like that. I don't know. But,
I blame the Veterans Day parades.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Or July 4th, they're always throwing candy at us, right?
Oh,
and it's like,
oh.
Yeah.
I blame telling 18-year-olds that blood makes grass grow, personally.
Yeah. I mean,
horticulture. It was not my drill sergeant's finest. That wasn't their subject.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
Let's see here. Stands to pee. Have we ever had Stands to pee on?
No, I don't know
before?
him.
I have no. Unless he changed his name. This is a new follower, so we don't want to yell at him yet. And I'm not drunk enough to yell at him yet. That being said, the 10th Mountain vodka that I'm drinking, they're like might kick in, so be careful. Let's see here. Yeah.
The children in the battle can barely vote or drink. You just keep this guy on a little bit. It's always entertaining.
Yeah, he's good. Okay. I don't know what else going on. I'm just clicking things now. But hey,
Nick, that's good. Just treat everybody, with respect.
Well, you see what it turns.
That's good.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think that had to be written in the Book of Rules, so I'm just kind of saying it, right? Like just
with kind of common sense, but
And that's wait, I'm not done yet. Okay, I'm finished. No, it is what it is. But that also kind of triggers me. Like why?
Yeah.
And then, but that's the other point too, buddy. You want to talk about is where if you want to be on the other side of the bell curve politically, like you have to think that your way is so great, right? And that society is so good, and it's like no, it's not. Like society will eat your ass up and spit you out, right? And not give two shits and just keep going. Right, like it takes the human being, like the inside of the human, to be like, I'm not going to allow that bad thing.
You know what? That's a
continent.
Say that until the first hurricane or tornado comes, and then that shows society at its best. You know what I mean? Because that's when everybody and their brother is out helping each other.
Yeah.
So like society on a macro level is there for each other.
Yeah.
But whatever. It is.
But Dr. Walsh, that's the dumpster fire that we have here at Veteran Trash Talk. Like I didn't really know what I was going to say today, and then all of a sudden, Buddy goes on his rant. So it's like, no, like, notice But what do you think? What do you think about human society?
So, especially as it relates to policy, I think it takes all types. We need people screaming on either sides of the aisle, and we need everything in between. How else can we have healthy conversations? If we're just screaming into echo chambers, nothing good is going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's what Buddy's been doing in his hotel room the last 2 weeks. Screaming? Yeah.
Screaming?
Other than
you're watching, I'm worried about you. You're watching golf. I'm worried about you.
Other than screaming and then being in the fetal position. They called the other day. They said there was a woman crying up here. And I was like, I'll tell her to stop. I think it's upstairs. They're on the top floor. You're on the top floor.
Scream therapy is a thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe more veterans should use that.
True. What I need is therapy from just bad riflemen. That's what I need. Like,
yeah, for sure.
That's helpful.
All right, Dave, we ready to get into what you got going on?
Yeah. This is actually I love Joe Rogan. Shout out to Joe Rogan. I watch his podcast all the time.
Watch our show.
He doesn't, but maybe one day. Maybe
Maybe one
one.
day.
I sent him a button once. I sent him a VTT button.
I know.
I don't know if he ever got it. He probably gets thousands of gifts. But anyhow,
You sent the largest podcaster and or like in the world
dude,
a
Nick and I
digital
used to send
device
buttons
with
to
a pressure
everybody.
switch in it.
Absolutely,
And,
we send it to everybody, dude. It's marketing, man. Maybe one of them picks it up.
Oh,
and
no, I
it
got
goes
it.
on the
I
show
got it.
and,
But when you look at the you think that guy doesn't get any like hate mail and or death threats, and you send him a
100%
pressure
he does.
switch.
Yeah,
and you send him a pressure switch.
Instead of a pressure switch. So go check out the Veteran Trash Talk button. You can get that at shop.veterantrashtalk.com. It's pretty funny. Anyhow, so he had this guy on the show, and have you guys heard of the Mohenjo-Daro massacre?
No.
So it's this ancient civilization that was living in Pakistan, and it still exists over there. The ancient civilization doesn't anymore, but the area where this supposedly happened. So over 4,000 years ago, this whole entire civilization just like got disintegrated, basically, like burned, and like basically like a nuclear weapon was used. We'll play the video and then we can discuss it after this. So go ahead.
Do the
Nick,
video
play the
now?
Yeah, do the video.
All right. I'm going to show you my producer skills.
Mohenjo-Daro.
Are there photos that we can look at?
Oh, yeah. Look it up. Mohenjo-Daro, Indus Valley. Dead bodies still laying in the street thousands of years later. And
Nobody
guess what?
they just lay there? No one's covered them up?
Nobody's covered them up. Yeah. When you
All
put a
right.
Geiger counter over them, higher than background level radiation. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. And
But aren't stones higher than background level radiation?
Some stones are. Some stones are, especially like diorite and crystal granite. But these bodies, these are just bones. How come they're higher than background level radiation?
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
Why haven't I ever heard of this?
Mohenjo-Daro. M-O-H-E-N. There you go.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is evidence of a nuclear war or nuclear
Go
type
back
of
to
a
the
war.
other, that one there? That one's insane.
Yeah. There's bodies that are sitting on the edge of steps next to their own buildings that they lived in. The building is turned to glass. That's 3,000 plus degree temperature weapons fire.
So there's a bunch of people that seem to die all at once, just scattered around?
Yeah.
Now, what's the conventional explanation for how these people died?
They have no idea. They have zero idea. The only thing that
was just a couple, Jamie. Go to the other, just the Mohenjo-Daro mythical massacre.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. So I Googled more of this, and there's a place in India that occurred as well. I don't know the exact location, but again, over 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, which, my tinfoil hat, aliens and all that stuff. But it just brings it back to, ancient civilizations back then, and that there was like definitely advanced technology. So I definitely think that something occurred, nuclear weapon wise, or, I'm not saying an atomic bomb, but something, because of radiation in the bodies and everything 4,000 years ago. Like, as we know it, they did not have that technology, but clearly something occurred. And like when you Google it, even scientists are like, whoa, I don't know. Some are saying like fires, right? But to have all these bodies in separate locations, just like, that's a nuclear weapon. So definitely something fishy. I would say ancient technology that we don't know about, or a lost civilization. Same ones that like built the pyramids and stuff like that. That's my take. Dr. Walsh, smartest one here. What, have you ever heard of Mohenjo-Daro or whatever this place is called?
No, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I think there's civilizations all over the world that we know very little about. There's very little documentation, so it doesn't surprise me at all. Advanced technology, absolutely. I mean, humans, we kind of are our own worst enemies.
Okay. That's your take? If you're going to elaborate a little bit more on it, what you think happened, or, was there like a nuclear weapon? Was there something?
That's all you're going to give us?
Well, I think, especially with human nature, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, those are all things that, we can create and they can destroy. So, I mean, I think I would need a little bit more evidence to make an assertion about whether or not it was pure nuclear, but biological, absolutely. I definitely think some things happened.
What does assertion mean?
Before I can make,
buddy, can you spell that? I didn't want to ask her because she can't.
We're not allowed to use words we can't spell, so I'm sure you can. But for the rest of the audience watching on Gruntworks, that's one that definitely everybody watching on Gruntworks doesn't know what you just said. So
it's okay. I'll just treat you like the Marines. As a corpsman, I got you.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I found it pretty fascinating. Like, 4,000 years ago, and like the levels of radiation that are there, not just found in the rocks, but actually in the bones of these bodies and stuff, is pretty gnarly. Buddy, what's your take? Buddy's Googling now.
Oh, were you cheating?
You're not
No,
supposed to
he
Google.
was
buddy.
looking at the
He's making sure Scotty Scheffler is still in the lead.
I have the AAR today. I'm writing stuff
nice.
down.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna need you to step back a little bit off of me. All right. So I'd love to come with some wild thing, but so the Bible, right? There are many stories, or well, there's at least one story in the Bible about civilizations being turned to salt and or destroyed.
Yep.
Every civilization on the planet has a story of a flood. Every civilization on the planet has a story of a civilization that was destroyed because they weren't doing the right things. Now, when we look at the Bible, we look at other stories. Those people are telling stories in the vernacular of their day and the language that they can understand. Just because you can't understand, you're going to think it's some kind of myth or something crazy because scientifically it's not how we speak, doesn't mean that it didn't happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's plenty of proof that things like that occurred. Those stories that are in the Bible from 2,000 years ago are actually sometimes 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years old, and they were passed on from, orally until they were written down in a book someplace, right? Yes, I absolutely believe it happened. How it happened, I would venture to, I don't know. I have no idea, because at some points it's like there's a reset that we lose all of what we had known before. Not the great one. I don't know about that, but that there are civilizations like the Maya or the Inca that just kind of disappeared, and nobody knows their the old ways. The pyramids for Egypt, nobody really knows what they were really used for. People say they were tombs, but nobody was burying in them. All that kind of craziness.
Yeah, so he goes into it, but it's funny you bring that up. If you watch
there's
the whole
absolutely
podcast,
a chance that it happened. Yes.
Yeah, if you watch the whole podcast, he actually talks about it being gods and that there was a war going on. And then the gods decided to destroy that portion, his whole theory is we came from aliens and stuff like that, and they came to Nephilim or whoever, which is mentioned in the Bible as well, came down here, created humans to mine gold and do all kinds of crazy shit. But he describes it as a war between the gods, and that's what destroyed those people, which is fucking crazy, 4,000 years ago. But yeah,
I mean, it's crazy, but it's not crazy, and we don't know what we don't know. So
yeah,
I would say that yes, it happened. There's evidence that it occurred, and people don't just accidentally die in the middle of the street and their house get turned to glass.
And you're just yeah.
So yeah, I would say that it happened. It's probably been explained. We're just too smart to understand how it was explained.
Mm-hmm. Good point. I like it.
Air quote. Too smart to
Good shit.
How it happened. There you go. That's my take.
Hey girl. What happened in Mohenjo-Daro?
Yeah, fascinating, right? But none of us are covering the whole thing. Was it nuclear?
First of all, was it nuclear or nuclear?
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Nucleus.
Yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Another mystery that will never be solved.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go. Actually, Stands to P was going right down the same trajectory as I was with this. Huh? Yeah. And again, which could be a war of the gods because it's coming from the sky, right? And you got a meteor comes and wow, I don't know. Anybody see a meteor hit before? Does it get that hot when it hits?
I mean, they do, but they also leave craters. That's the thing they do also. So
yeah, I don't think there's any bodies left then, right? They're gone. Yeah.
But not necessarily just meteor, but volcano, right? You look at Pompeii, right? There's people that are still in their same position they were in before.
So Nick, that is one theory out there from a couple scientists that say it was a volcano, but they just then the bodies would be ash, and they would have and they would they say that it would lack radiation. The levels of radiation there are insane. The volcano, it would bring some radiation, but not the amount that you can find there.
if that makes sense.
But
How does that
I'm
compare
gonna
to Chernobyl?
Say
Yeah,
again?
like there's a story there. Did you know there was a story? Like speaking of Pompeii, there was a story. There was a guy running from the volcano. And he fell into a hole, and now it's just a big ash hole.
That joke.
that
was actually pretty good.
I'll play
Dr.
it.
Walsh, what'd you say?
No, I was asking how does that compare against Chernobyl in regards to the radiation levels? Is that
I don't know.
something-
I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but I know it's extremely high. It's extremely high, but I don't
So
know. I couldn't give you like the details on that.
As the one who speaks the most truth on the panel most of the time, I'm going to kind of go with a combination here, to where like Dr. Walsh said that.
I thought you were about to step up your game and use like some kind of huge work, but then you.
Well, no, see, Aaron tried to yell at me on the chat that said that
Yeah.
I shouldn't use words I can't spell. Well, Aaron, we don't know if I said nuclear
or nuclear.
Or nuclear.
It's okay. She doesn't know how to spell them either.
Damn, shots fired.
All right.
Somebody just got hit with a nuke.
Go Navy, beat Army, right?
Yeah. I mean, not anymore. But it's you guys had your chance. But you had your good like 15 years.
Hey, we're good underdogs.
Yeah, but then again, we should bring you back on for when we cover that part of it, because we really don't care about officers doing that to each other, because it's like there's better football games in Texas high school than that one. So like,
Well, hey, you're missing out. Alabama, roll tide.
well, that's different. I will watch an Alabama game whenever they're on TV, because there's like 12 guys on that will play on Sundays on that. So like I'm gonna watch that one. But I think like I said, like the Buddy using the Bible. All right, is there's stories, right, that are like, hey, human beings, like now going into what Dr. Walsh said, we destroy each other, right?
Yeah.
We do things that destroy something that's great, something that's good, whether you believe in creation or not, right? Like we find every way we can to just absolutely fuck something up, right? And it should have been the Book of Earl, but like I try to find ways all the time to fuck my shit up. Like I have a lot of good things going on. Here I am going to go do something stupid, right? Like, so yeah, I think the Bible is those stories. They sound horrific because of the old scare tactic, right? But again, you should be scared if you are destroying what is something that's supposed to be a certain way, right? And again, nature always wins. You want to go fuck around, like, and find out with nature? I don't know. Go swim with some orcas, like we talked about last week. Give it a shot, right? See what the fuck happens. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. This civilization, at the time, probably was doing some fucked up shit, right? And it just, I don't know what it is.
Time for them to go. It was time for them to go.
Time to get reset,
Damn.
right? And
Yeah.
again, here's why. And to debunk your crater meteor story, right? What do asteroids do when they come into the atmosphere and then they break up, right? Like they don't all hit the ground. So what if it blew up right before it hit the ground? No crater, lots of heat. Just saying. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it.
That's pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
that,
it.
buddy? Did you hear what the doctor said? Did you hear what the doctor said?
Yeah, that's pretty
All
good.
right. She didn't say it about yours.
True. Very true.
So
Maybe I'll start talking about this story more, because I find it like intriguing, dude. It's like wild. Like it should be. I don't know when they found all. I mean, the guy that was on there knew about this for a long time, but like, why is this even like that's super intriguing? But it's not. I guess it's not that important for the public eye or whatever, Like, and you can still travel there and find all that shit. Yeah, but anyway, good
to
take.
Afghanistan or Pakistan?
Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan.
People are taking vacations to Afghanistan now. I saw a thing the other day. Guy took his wife and kids.
Oh,
to
yeah.
Why
Afghanistan.
not? Why not? We're sending the Taliban money.
Dude, it's wild. There's a bunch of YouTubers and but there's that one YouTuber who's also captive over there. That famous one. They snatched his ass up. But I follow this one guy. He goes there with his wife. He goes like Iraq, Afghanistan. I'm like, bro. But then
trying to find all the money that he buried.
There are times when I want to take my son to Iraq or Afghanistan, like when he's talking about like, Dad, I seriously need this or I want this. I'm like, I really wish I could take you on a deployment real quick. You can see what it really looks like. Yeah, what need looks like. Like, I need a new iPhone.
Yeah.
Do you?
Why is my Wi-Fi turned off? Like,
Yeah.
you ain't getting no.
Bro, that's the other thing, buddy. You talked about it before when the Wi-Fi goes off on a plane and people lose their mind.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I have an app.
It's
I
2
I
hours.
control all the Wi-Fi, and Megan does too. We control all the Wi-Fi in the house. So like until chores are done, you don't get Wi-Fi. So like it's just one swipe, boom, you're done. And you can set time limits
You're a
as well, dude.
monster, Dave. You are a monster.
Well, it's fucking great. But you
How
should see
dare
like the
you.
boys
Oh,
really
Dad,
isn't
I
that
got
bad.
LTE.
Yeah.
No
Let's go to
Wi-Fi.
my friend's house.
Yeah.
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 All right. So
Anyhow,
are we
we
done
get
with
to our
the-
guest now, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I introduce the guest now?
Maybe.
All right, welcome.
Yeah.
We're welcoming Dr. Kirsten Walsh, who was at one point a corpsman, which for all you people that don't habla Navy, that is a Navy medic that works for the Marines for whatever reason, apparently. Anyway, now she's working with the Wounded Warriors Woman Warrior Initiative, which I think is WWW. It's like the internet at this point. She is a former congressional fellow. I'm starting to feel like you only go to jobs where they like misgender you, like corps man, congressional fellow.
I actually was. I was in when the Navy tried to do that whole just call everybody petty officer, don't call them, whatever.
Yeah.
We fought within our ranks really hard to ensure because corpsman is also very traditional. So
I've also don't interrupt me for a second because I forgot she is a doctor, and that's great. I will say that if you're having a heart attack, she's not that kind of doctor. She's a social worker doctor. So if you're having a heart attack and your uncle used to visit you at night in your room, call her.
Oh,
thanks for that. My phone's going to be off the hook tonight. Thanks.
I will say,
you're a core woman.
She is.
I can handle the other scenario too.
She is a graduate of the University of Alabama. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
And that's really all that counts. That's all you need to know. She's a great doctor, great person. So, Dr. Walsh, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Dumpster fire. Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the Wounded Warrior female or Woman Warrior Initiative and what you guys are doing. Also, if you could tell me what a congressional fellow is, that'd be great. I just thought it was some dude in Congress.
There you go, buddy. You actually asked her the questions that you're supposed to ask.
Yeah.
Just sit there and look at the camera. Every once in a while, Dr. Walsh, I let him do this, and it's a learning process.
Yeah, it goes
you got to go off the rails sometime.
Yeah,
you got to know where those buffers should be.
Sometimes.
Yep.
Great. No, so I'll quickly talk about my service. So I served for 8 years as a corpsman. Now you got me saying it.
That's what leaders do.
I came in with a bachelor's degree, but chose to go enlisted. I wanted to work my way up and had a great experience. Had some amazing leaders and mentors along the way. But the big theme of my service became toxic leadership and experiencing leadership in different ways. So when I got to San Diego, California, I went through some interesting experiences as a respiratory therapist. I worked in the intensive care units at Naval Medical Center San Diego, as well as throughout the hospital. And, one of the biggest things we saw was fentanyl and heroin overdoses. And that is a big concern, because there's just some gaps right now in regards to how we interact with active duty individuals and provide supportive services for treatment and intervention. And so I chose to leave the military and get out, and I went to USC in California for my grad school, and then ultimately Roll Tide, Alabama. And it's been amazing being with Wounded Warrior Project. I've been with Wounded Warrior Project for about 2.5 years now. And it's just been incredible. I was very fortunate enough to be one of the PACT Act protesters. So when the PACT Act, had some struggles on the Hill, several of us decided to just hang out outside the Senate and ask that they pass the bill. And the advocacy, not only from DC, but also from, the nation. The Senate switchboard logged millions of calls. It was just a fantastic experience and brought the community together. So in Congress, I actually worked for a group called the 4 Country Caucus, which is a bunch of military veterans who serve as congressional representatives. Really cool, amazing people. And again, Wounded Warrior Project, as well as, myself, we believe it takes all sides. So we have, individuals like Dr. Miller Meeks, who is a woman veteran herself, as well as Representative August Pfluger from Texas. And then also, we also have supporters that support the military veterans, especially within the House Veteran Affairs Committee, such as Representative Nikki Budzinski. And I know I'm saying a lot of big words right now, aren't I?
Well, those are names.
Some of our viewers.
You want to tell you the honest to God truth why I just laughed? I just realized I had an epiphany, if you will.
You can't spell that.
I realized the difference between somebody who lived in Alabama and somebody who went to Alabama. When I was reading your bio, I was like, what the hell is how many countries are in this caucus? 4? Why are we doing?
No, to be honest,
the 4-country caucus. Then I was like, oh wait, it was FOR. I'm an idiot.
I want to real quick. One of our viewers is asking if you could describe the PACT Act real quick, and anybody that's listening.
Oh, that's a lead-in question.
Yeah.
Aaron.
No, it's not. I wonder if she's talking.
Aaron
about
knows exactly what that shit is. Yeah.
Aaron, I believe, was actually an advocate alongside the PACT Act.
Well, screw you, Aaron.
Oh no, Aaron's gonna owe some drinks next time. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We've got to start counting them because this is a couple now.
Yeah.
PACT Act is one of the largest healthcare initiatives passed by Congress and impacting the VA. It's a toxic exposure, fully comprehensive series of initiatives. It expanded toxic exposure screenings. It also expanded eligibility for a variety of health concerns that a lot of veterans who experienced toxic exposure. And toxic exposure, thanks, Aaron. Toxic exposure can be anything from burn pits to Agent Orange to a lot of the chemical stuff that a lot of the veterans and service members experienced during operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. So it's kind of a big umbrella. And when it was going through Congress, there's a lot of concerns about how much is this going to cost, because VA already has a pretty healthy budget. And to add more to that, we really have to work hard to justify that. So it took a lot of work. It took many years, many advocates. We were very fortunate to have John Stewart alongside us. And especially in those final days, it really helped us kind of get over the borderline with that.
Thank you so much for elaborating on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Aaron, obviously, because she doesn't follow us or ever watch the shows, she should have known that asking a leading question while the guest was in the middle of saying something, we have zero ability to control ourselves when we reply to comments. So we will literally cut her off no matter what she's saying because somebody wrote something on a screen. It's just
that's good though. For our listeners on iTunes and Spot, maybe she was doing it because of that. She was helping out, because later when people listen to this and they're like, "What the fuck is a PACT?"
So here a viewpoint I have on the PACT Act and the toxic exposure stuff is what I was upset about when I went to the VA when I retired just recently was they pretty much forced me to fill out this PACT Act thing. You need to sit here and fill this out. And I'm like, well, what if I don't want to? Because it's for burn pit exposure. So I've kind of tried to mature a little bit about this, but it's kind of, I equate this to, when people use hey, how many people file false sexual assault reports, right? The number isn't really there to even say that that's an excuse to not have the type of things that we have in place to help victims, to help people, right? Same thing. There's stuff here to help people that have the toxic exposure, right? But you got the VA forcing everybody to fill this out, where it's I actually dug burn pits, right? Dave was there.
We burned our feces,
I actually dug the burn pit. I was standing in the burn pit, right? You got these people you got especially a major, right? A major or a colonel's oh yeah, I filed for the PACT Act. Fucker, you were nowhere near a burn pit.
Yeah. That shit literally flew over our shoes for 15 months in Samara. Literally, we burned all our trash there. You'd walk out of your shoe.
Yeah. And then the other part of it was the Agent Orange. I'm glad you brought that up because here's the other thing. I'm sitting there when I was in RI down in Florida, and we're swimming across the river to recon the river before the students go across it, right? And they set up their bridge. Now here comes the EPA in their boat, right? And I'm sitting here like swimming across it, like drinking in the water, so swimming. I'm like, what are you guys doing here? Oh, we're testing this water for Agent Orange because they buried a shit ton of it under Reagan Air Force Base. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Keep swimming. So yeah, what about like what is that? How does the PACT Act actually help people other than the way a lot of conspiracy theorists and or people who aren't educated how DC works and those? How does it help people to where it's like, oh, this is just more money getting sent somewhere that just goes away?
That's a great question. So for many of the individuals impacted by toxic exposure impacts, we now have identified presumptives. So basically, if you were in a certain location around a certain time, there are, expedited processes for those individuals. Also, things like breast cancer. So I had a colleague, Dr. Kate Hendricks Thomas, who was very well known. Unfortunately, she has passed away from toxic exposure from the burn pit. She was a female Marine, absolutely fantastic researcher and woman veteran, published multiple times on it. She was diagnosed with breast cancer at an age younger than what most women kind of are reported to experience breast cancer symptoms at. And, it was immediately found to have spread all over her body. And so the PACT Act, one of the kind of things that the PACT Act and other bills related around it did is kind of start those screening processes a little bit earlier for veterans. So, if the screening was originally at 40 years of age, now, if you were in these areas around this time, you should be getting a screening regardless of how young you are. So that's one way of it helping. I think VA, they put a lot of effort behind this because, largest healthcare package to pass for veterans, largest policy implementation. It is a national push, and it is extremely hard to find all of the veterans. There's reports out there that suggest that only about 40% of veterans are enrolled within VA healthcare. So how do we get to the individuals who actually are not engaged with VA, who choose not to be engaged with VA? How do we get to them and help them and, prevent situations that could be fatal for them?
Yeah, right. And then, hey, Aaron, that's how you ask a question about the PACT Act, by the way. Give some context.
So what are some of like the symptoms, or like, are you guys seeing anything, like some of the things that like, oh shit, this is, because obviously you said the breast cancer, right? But you can't 100%. We're saying it probably is because of that. But are there any symptoms that veterans that are watching or listening need to look out for and be like, oh, this maybe came from this, and I need to,
Well, I would encourage veterans to check out the VA website to look at what some of those location presumptives are, as well as some of those health conditions. The VA has a very comprehensive list that kind of breaks down high blood pressure, and certain, experiences, with certain things. So it's kind of like a little bit of a formula. You have to figure out the presumptives, location, service. So, but the VA has a fantastic dashboard that it goes over and evaluates all of that. And it's very readily accessible online.
Hey, I got a question. How is the Wounded Warrior Project helping some of the veterans who don't use VA? That's weird.
I don't use Virginia either. So
yeah, and I'm I definitely see that. So there are a lot of veterans who, and this especially relates to women veterans. So women veterans, there are many of them that don't identify as veterans. They don't believe that their service mattered. They don't believe that they mattered. And they don't want to be around other veterans because of something that may have happened either in or out of service, or even during the transition. So Wounded Warrior Project, veterans do not have to be enrolled in VA in order to be enrolled in Wounded Warrior Project. We don't substitute any of the programs. So like we're not mimicking VA or anything like that. We are a VSO that has programs and services. We do have mental health options and things like that. We've got some great mental health programs, but veterans do not have to be registered with VA to be a part of us. So we can get into the communities. We also rely on a great alumni network. We have over 200,000 veterans post 9/11 that are enrolled in Wounded Warrior Project. And it's just absolutely incredible to be able to see them engage with each other, as well as, us on the advocacy level. Our alumni network is probably, it's my favorite part of our organization. It's just so engaging to be around the Warriors.
Yeah, the ones in El Paso never share this show. They keep rejecting it when I put it on the Wounded Warrior Project of El Paso. So maybe you should call her and yell at her.
The Wounded Warrior Project is how I did. It's who I went through for my when I retired for disability and all that stuff.
Same here.
I have another
Same
question. Why didn't we just have Aaron on the show also?
You're opening a can of worms there. Yeah, Aaron is way too good for us, right?
Apparently not.
She had a hairdressing appointment today.
Yeah, she had a hairdressing appointment.
You can do this show from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, I've done it from the middle of a
watching it from there, so that's good. You know,
I've literally done this show
on the big screen.
I did want to cover something you said, how you how women a lot of them don't even identify as veterans because they're not either proud of it or just maybe there's something that it is what it is. That we learned that starting Veteran Trash Talk. So and it was really weird because we didn't know how to use like the demographics, and we're just a bunch of grunts, right? Like we're trying, and we have Gruntworks, which is but we didn't own Gruntworks when we started VTT. Somebody else did. But Veteran Trash Talk, we allow zero politics, like zero sexual posts, and just we were here to like just promote veteran-owned businesses, share funny memes, right, and reach out and talk to each other. And we started noticing that we were getting a lot of female veterans, right? And it's like, Dave thinks he's good looking, but we're really not that good looking dudes, and like we were still active duty. We weren't making any money.
Good looking, bro.
Yeah, it's like he is the face man. That's what it's for.
Anyhow,
but like it's not like they're not flocking to us because they're looking for a date, and it's like so we started like asking a few of them like what's the deal here? Why do you want to be so involved? Literally, almost all of our moderators now are female veterans. Like they're super stoked about VTT, and I'm like, what's the deal here? And they're like, well, there isn't any veteran pages on Facebook or social media that aren't like skull crossbones, like rah killed everybody, and although we all have the ERBs that can say we can brag about our service and say we killed people, except for Dave, he quit, was a recruiter, but like we don't talk about that stuff, right? Unless the situation calls for it, right?
You were there. The pink mist.
Oh, that was Ogren. Ogren shot him.
Different story. Let's get back to our guest. Yeah.
So, like that was really eye opening to us, and it's done nothing but help, spring VTT a lot faster than probably it should have because we're starting to get a demographic that they didn't have a place to go. Yeah. Right. They didn't have a place to go, like feel safe where I can talk about my service and not just get told to shut up and go make.
Which is sad. And some of the stories are just like.
Yeah. And that's something that put me onto a path where what I do with my job now, which Aaron's fully aware of, is it put me onto a more emotional path with it because I sat here and I did an interview with a soldier when she went to Korea in the 90s. Literally, she had to sign a piece of paper that said, hey, this is what how you're gonna act here because you're gonna get raped, right? Like that was part of the processing. I was like, and then when she started telling her story, and you can watch it. I don't want to say it for her. I was like, you couldn't see me because I was like I am now, but my legs were shaking under the table, right? And I'm sitting here like this happened to you in the Army. Like, and again, call it our ignorance, call it our bravado, where we just didn't see that stuff, or we didn't care. Like we saw it, like, or it was over here. Like,
we talked about this, so we were brought up different, Nick. Even though we didn't, back
still
then,
not an excuse. We didn't have any emotional intelligence for it happening.
Our first sergeant, Perez, man, like when you were in Kuwait, you looked at a female.
I like the way Dave, like it was like, Nick, you and I were brought up differently. Hey. Also,
you were in the Army for like 62 years, buddy. So you've seen it all,
buddy. Go back to Bravo Company.
Well, the problem is that all of us were brought up in the infantry. There weren't any women there anyway.
My
and
point
when there
was,
were women there, we were so scared to death that we might offend or get in trouble, or like you either didn't want anything to do with them, or like some female private would get there and you'd be like, "Okay, ma'am, what do you need, ma'am? What? Okay, ma'am. Yeah, sure." Like, it was one way or the other.
But well, you mentioned.
Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned emotional intelligence. The military can't really, we need emotional intelligence, but we don't necessarily, we're not being taught it in the right ways. And that's, a lot of discussion. I think if we, when a guy sees a girl and, the combat happens, he's going to drop everything to get her out of there, regardless. And that's just chivalry. It's what's ingrained in us as Americans and people. So I think there's definitely something to that emotional intelligence and having the emotional maturity. But when you get into conflict or combat or high risk situations, all that goes out the window. So unless we can start kind of getting into that, I think we're going to have some struggles. And, we've been fully integrated now since I think 2016. We have some amazing women who are Army Rangers. We have some women who have, gone through various special forces courses in various branches. We're getting there, but we should never be dropping the standard either for women to serve. Women.
That's a whole different ball wax.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but hey, before we get into that, before we get into any of that, I do want to talk about something that's important for our community and what with the guest on is. Like I said, now that I've established that we do have a large female veteran audience, not necessarily maybe watching today, but they will watch it or listen to it in the future. When I read your bio, what should female veterans who maybe are lying in the weeds because, like you said, and or that are on our platform right now, but don't ever speak up or speak out? All right, what does WWP or whatever you're advocating or researching for in DC, what do female veterans need to hear from WWP and what you guys are doing?
So, well, our Women Warriors Initiative, we kind of kicked it off back in 2020. We did a bunch of virtual focus groups where we were just trying to understand a little bit more about what women veterans were experiencing and our alumni specifically. That's what we call our Women Warriors. And so we learned a lot from that. And then I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I have a research background. I love designing research. And I was given an incredible opportunity by our leader, Vice President for Government Affairs, Jose Ramos, who's also a former corpsman. And I got to design and create the Women Warriors Initiative for the 2023 report. We released it last September, and we traveled around the country and hosted virtual groups, interviewing women veterans, asking them intensive questions about their experiences and looking at mental health, social health, financial wellness, trying to identify where are their policy gaps and where are their research gaps. What ultimately came of that is we found that our women warriors have higher rates of loneliness, anxiety, and depression. Isolation also impacts them. They just feel like, Veterans Day, for example. When was the last time you saw a woman veteran getting honored during a Veterans Day ceremony?
Oh, shit.
I would answer that with when's the last time you saw any single veteran get honored during a Veterans Day parade, though? You know what I mean? But to be fair, there's a Veterans Day parade.
Oh, she's right, though.
Every year, and there are women veterans every year. They are, and maybe we're different than other. We built different in Tennessee, but there are women veterans there. I don't know when the last time I ever saw
I think from the national level, and the exposure in the media and stuff. I can't recall.
Well, they got to save that for Women's History Month, otherwise, otherwise they waste it.
Well, and also think about this: who is the most famous woman veteran you know of?
I mean, any of the WASP, the Waves,
by name.
The most famous. Well, that's kind of a loaded question for us because we've had them on the show. We've had a lot of female veterans on the show.
Oh, yeah.
We had Casey Campbell is pretty famous. She's
a gangster.
Badass.
Yeah.
And then just shout out to all of our fucking mods.
Hey, Monica,
one of the first. Len. Yeah, they're all.
One of the first NCOs. Yeah, one of the first artillery NCOs was a woman.
So for most people, though, this doesn't come to their mind.
Right.
It's very hard to see. And, driving around. So I lived in Escondido, California for a couple of years. Great area. And they have these beautiful banners on the lamppost that say, this veteran, served in this campaign and whatever. And it's just to honor the veterans from that area. I don't recall seeing a single woman veteran at all in the entire little community of Escondido. And my buddy, great chief, he just had his banner made for his small community. And again, male veterans, that's fantastic. I'm not saying take anything away from male veterans, but I'm saying we need to bring women's up as well.
And that will fix the psychological, what you were talking about, the loneliness, all that. That would just put them on that what's the word I'm looking for?
Even keel?
playing field. Even
Yeah,
keel,
well,
yeah. Yeah.
that's
And
what
not
we
even
found.
that, but like, go ahead.
Well, that's what we found in our research. So I recently was just in Charleston and Tampa hosting roundtables. So part of what we do is we go around, we invite subject matter experts to come and talk about various topics. We had a researcher who focuses on osteoarthritis and physical health conditions for high performers, including athletes. And she spoke about how, individuals who go through high risk situations and high intensive training, they're more likely to have, bone issues or muscular issues. And our women veterans, the women veterans that attended, it was incredible. There is such an appetite for connection, community, education, and information. And, unfortunately, many women veterans do not feel safe going into a VFW post, just because of experiences they may go through. I've been
blame
in
them.
posts.
I love all you VFW posts, but
Oh no, and I've been to some that are absolutely incredible, but I've also been to some where the men will not look me in the eye, and they know I'm a veteran.
Well, you'll steal their soul.
Yeah, I do.
I would say that also goes kind of
you're a lot smarter.
a little
too.
bit of that goes back to
Love you, Vietnam vets and everything. Don't get it twisted.
a little
We
bit
have a
of that
huge
goes
Vietnam
back
vet
to the
following here, so
same,
but
like what we were talking about with infantrymen, how like they don't want to, like, they're not about that life. They're not about getting in trouble for doing something inappropriate. And because they don't want to do something inappropriate, because they've been told if they do anything, they're done, they would rather just not even look at you or not even, be around you. And I think that's actually been a detriment to a lot of
that's
female.
not the reaction at the VFW post, though. That's just the
Yeah,
reaction.
but at the end of the day,
just like, fuck you.
I
You're
don't
not that
want to.
good.
I don't go to
That's what it is. Let's be
VFW
real.
posts either, because I don't feel comfortable at VFW posts. I mean,
Yeah, they do suck.
no kidding. Like, I just don't, because they're just not. That I'm not a World War II.
I'm just saying it was a different
Vietnam
that
veteran.
comparison. Like, it's a
And
different
have
upbringing.
people that feel comfortable there. I don't want to go someplace where all they're doing is drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, and
eating hot dogs.
Spaghetti, you know what I mean?
Spaghetti dinners and Bush Light, like
we talked about this before with like the VFW.
Yeah.
Though. Like, they have to modernize or die. Like,
Well, and I'll also say something that our women veterans were telling us is that when they became parts of various chapter-based organizations, they found themselves constantly being asked to do more than male veterans. They were asked to cook more. They were asked to bring, can you transport this places? And they, of course, they want to do it because they want to be a part of that community. But it's just, there seems to be a communication breakdown. Women veterans are veterans too. We all just want to be treated the same, have the same access to care and supports.
And we learned a long time. We don't even call them women veterans. They're just veterans.
Yeah, and again, so there's
this,
I love getting into that the narrative of things, right? To where it can screw things up or it can help things just based off of like what are we trying to sell here, right? And like I said, I had to grow in my maturity with veterans that are of the female gender, because I always got triggered when when you said like Women's History Month. I'm like, it's 2024. Why does it have to be the first female to do this? Why can't it just be like, look at this female CEO? Why can't it just be, look at this badass CEO, right? Look at this. And then, shout out to Monica, who couldn't make it today because she's like the head sergeant of arms at her VFW or Legion, whatever it is. She said, well, it's because of like what you're saying is we need to keep bringing light to that. There are people that are doing these things and have done these things a long freaking time ago. Right. So it's like, and they never got the time of day because of just the way that it was. And that kind of goes to what Stan's to piece saying is this the VA is societal. Well, it's, is what it is. Vic says veterans are veterans. So what the fuck are you talking about? That's
what I just said, Vic.
Yeah. So here's where what about this? What about this? Like I said, we have zero control. If somebody types something, we can stop everything. What is there any problem? Have you run into anything with talking to female veterans about like they don't join WWP because it's Wounded Warrior Project, right? Do they view MST as that? Do they view PTSD the same because it's not from combat, right? So is that a problem with Wounded Warrior Project just in the name itself? Does it scare women away?
I mean, I think it scares just veterans in general away. Wounded warrior denotes you have to have some, very, very life impacting injury. But injury and illness for veterans looks very different than it does for civilians. And the research shows us that. So Wounded Warrior Project, we serve post 9/11 veterans that have a wound, illness, or injury. And a little bit of that is subjective, but a lot of it, goes back to the medical evidence. If they've been diagnosed with PTSD, that is considered a wound, illness, or injury. Our resource center on top of that. So we have our warriors that are registered with us, but we also have a fantastic resource center. And any veteran or family support member can call into that and get at least kind of a direction of where to go. But yeah, repeat the question again. I started going off on a tangent there.
No, I was saying with the narrative of
the wound, illness, and injury. Yeah.
Yeah, the wounded warrior, right?
Yeah.
And again, because of the way the BroVet pages talk, and again, we have the BroVet background. We could be BroVets any day, anytime you want us to be. But it's like, oh, you were just a fucking pogue. You were just a truck driver, right? It's like, have you seen the size? Speaking of craters earlier, have you seen the size of the craters on MSR Tampa for like fucking 10 years? Right? Like, that's what them truck drivers were dealing with, right? Yeah. Like, every day.
Let me do that interrupting thing real quick. Vic, we know that, brother.
I think he's just I think he's just talking. Hey, Vix, thanks for the comments, buddy. Like, we really do appreciate it. But yeah, like that like, how do we get to that point? Maybe it's social media, maybe it's, veteran trash talk, something to where it's like, because Buddy and I and Dave will jump in once in a while, but we get really, really triggered when somebody's like, oh, that guy's just a pogue. He's not really a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
There is a line you have to draw, though.
We always talk about that. There is a reality there's always a reality situation that if we're not on common ground with that reality, then we can't
because there are also people that go to basic training for 2 weeks and then get 100% disability, and they're just robbing other people.
Absolutely.
And taking away resources. And then, there's also a conversation, like, the PACT Act is great, but there's also a conversation to be had about slimming down the bureaucracy of the VA so that more money is spent on actual care and not just hiring somebody to answer the phone to not give you an answer to the question that you're looking for. You know what I mean? So it's a huge problem. But the whole fact that, like, you think that you're somebody has to meet your standard of veteranhood to be a veteran is a little bit insane to me, especially because you can, Dave and Nick and I all have the same basic background, but we all have different backgrounds also. And, but there's always somebody that's done more and there's always somebody that's done less. Sure. Like, it can't just be the people that have done the equal amount to you that qualify for your veteran standard.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 6 years out of the military now, and I will say it took me a good 4 years to be able to say I never deployed, because I felt my service was completely devalued. I volunteered so many times, and I got turned down every time. Too low of a rank. I'm a woman. All these things I got denied. And, there's such a value in my service, just like there is in every service member's service. Mm-hmm. If you choose to serve, that's honorable. And for those who are drafted, that's extraordinarily honorable. Our service is what we make of it. And that's the veteran experience too. It is what we make of it. So for those who completely want nothing to do with it, I understand it. But for me, that looks like advocacy. And I want to show women veterans what women veterans are capable of and what we can do. So that's why I'm so happy to be where I am.
We've also discussed that on the show before. There is a punitive side of going to war. If you want to go to war for 20 years or 10 years in the case of Vietnam, there's a punitive side to that. There's a price that you have to pay, and that price is that the people that you send there, whether they're a man, a woman, whether they're black or white or something else, whether they're gay or straight, you have to pay for their care at the end of the day. And they shouldn't feel ostracized from the veteran community because they're something different than the majority of the veteran community, they should still
From
be
Alabama,
taken care
bro.
of. All we need is the baseline of that we're all veterans.
Yeah.
We don't all have to
Absolutely.
be combat veterans. We don't even like there are people that were in the army that were in CAG from like 1980 to 1990 and then retired and didn't
Never
really
shot their
do
weapon.
yeah, never like, may not have gone to actual combat. Are they less cool than the infantry guy that did go to combat? I think not. Probably not.
But I mean, if they're airborne, they're cooler.
Vic brings up a really good point right there
Yeah.
in the chat, and that's when I just went through a Wounded Warrior project for because I retired back in June, and
Congratulations.
I don't care all the viewers. I'm at 90% right now, but I feel like my counselor, the lady that was talking to me, honed in on like my past so much. I'm like, there's nothing really like I grew up in a loving family, all that, but like that's what Vic's talking about right now is like I feel like she honed in on that more than on the issues that I was actually having.
Yeah.
And then like my PTSD and my TBI rating was I don't know. I'm just kind of like should have been a little bit higher because that's actually issues that I have. But she was honing in on my childhood, which I don't know. I grew
Yeah,
up in a loving family. I didn't have those issues.
you're the grandson of an admiral. You were spoiled as shit.
Yeah. My grandfather was a rear admiral, like in the Navy. I had a loving family, like no issues there. Instead of honing in on the actual issues that I had, so like that was like a little bit of a bad experience with Warrior. My guy who's working with me is great. We're submitting more documents, but I was a little upset. But they have to do that now. They have to.
Well,
There's a lot of
So we know, so there's something called ACEs. It's adverse childhood events. And, those scores kind of help predict, what types of struggles an individual might have, moving through their life. We recommend every veteran using a VSO or a veteran service organization or somebody to assist in the claims process. Because oftentimes our VSOs have seen a lot of the questions, the screenings and stuff like that. It can help veterans prepare and know what they need to say and know how they can kind of work with VA providers and those CNP providers. But yeah, that's ACEs.
Doesn't anybody see that as an issue?
The ACEs?
The fact
I
that
had
you
an
have
amazing
to,
childhood.
you-
Like I
the
don't want to
fact
throw it
that
out there,
you
but
have to have a coach.
I was a
to get
rapper
what you're-
in Germany.
Getting.
No, but seriously, like I had a great childhood. Like there was nothing, no issues.
That's
And
what I
they
was talking
focused on
about.
that so
Tell us
hard
about your
because they wanted to
childhood,
say that my
Dave,
issues
your
that I'm
childhood.
having
We already
now.
talked about your childhood.
Yeah,
Stop
you gotta
talking
know
about
I'm
your
just
childhood.
saying it. Now I'm pissed off and triggered. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't anybody see that as an issue that you have to, and you're right, you have to go to a VSO to get, because if you try to do your claim on your own, the process is so difficult and you have to use the right wording for the right things. There are people that pay upwards of 2 or 3, or some people pay like a portion of their disability for like a year or two in order to get a lawyer to help them through a VA claim. And it's like, the problem is the claim process, not that. And you know what? We own all of the machines. How much easier would it be when an 18-year-old comes into the Army, scan their body?
Yes.
When a 42-year-old gets out of the Army, scan their body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually wrote this in a letter to help H2F get spun up in the Army. I was at the Sergeant Major's Academy, and I got asked to write a letter to the Pentagon about what do I see as a problem, system-wise that causes, veteran suicide. And I said, there's a lot of things we don't do preventatively to get left of the issue while they're still in, right? And part of that, buddy, was I go, we do nothing for our soldiers when they come in to like say, hey, this person's right hip is 2 inches higher than their left hip. Right. So if we don't address that now, and they're tough guys or tough girls, right? Tough soldiers, and they're gonna fight through some kind of pain, all of a sudden their left knee is hurting, right? Western medicine says x-ray that left knee, cut that left knee, but it all stemmed because they've been road marching for 10 years or jumping out of airplanes with a right hip that was out of, sync a little bit.
Mhm.
Right. So, like I said, why don't we scan them instead of making them duck walk and sticking a finger up their butt before they get in? Like why don't we just like, hey, let's give them a
something
full
on that.
MRI. We own the MRI machine.
Right.
It's
No.
Right.
And I got to be careful how I word this, but that's why the Genesis system came out like a year or two ago in the military, like in recruiting, and they say that's why numbers are down. I'm not certain that's the
Oh, it's
case.
because you guys sucked at recruiting. Yeah.
But the Genesis system now, when you go to MEPS to do your stuff, like they have your entire medical record. It used to be like they just know what you tell them, right? Now they can pull up your entire medical history, anything.
Wait,
Go ahead.
my bad.
Go ahead,
Hold on,
buddy.
let me ask Nick a question real quick. Majority, who joins the Army? Who joins the Navy and who joins the Marines?
Oof.
Poor kids.
Right.
Right or wrong?
Right.
Okay. Who doesn't go to the doctor, Dave? You can't
Right.
get a medical record if there isn't one to have.
Yeah, we're talking about eaches here. I'm
Yeah,
telling
and
you,
what
the
I'm
Genesis
saying-
system was
That's
created
what I'm saying.
to
That all can get
combat
fixed if
issues
those kids get a
of
scan.
already existing medical issues, and people join the military exactly to combat what you were saying about kids going to basic training, and then 2 weeks later they're done because they have a knee issue or something. That's
Right,
why
but
the
what I'm
Genesis
saying is
system was created.
if they're lower to middle class, it's expensive.
You're
to go
talking
to
about
the
a small
doctor.
percentage. You're talking about. I think you
Well,
are.
yeah, either way, but my point was with the letter I was
you were
writing.
in Germany
Well,
for
hey,
long,
hey,
my man.
Nick wasn't a poor dude when he joined. Nick
what
has underlying medical conditions probably from the past. I do.
Right, but like I said, a lot of the
Yeah, you grew up in Alabama in a little hut. I get it, bro. But that's not everybody.
everybody wants to get linear when they're talking about how to fix things, right? But
Statistically,
you're
it's
talking about
more
the whole
But
system.
I
here.
just wanted to add that's why
Welcome to the
Genesis
dumpster
system was
fire, Dr.
created.
Walsh. so
Hey, I'm
again,
in
like, yeah, so
Combat
like,
that stuff.
Mr. Free Healthcare is going to tell us about healthcare. Let's go.
yeah,
I got TRICARE for life
more.
on me.
yeah, exactly. But again, a lot of the issues that veterans have, that reminds them of something or makes them kind of just stop doing things is pain, right? So if we could get left of that pain, right, and then when they become veterans, so buddy, going along with what you said is, scan them before they get in, scan them when they get out, scan them halfway fucking through, right? Because we all know when a war kicks off and the numbers are low because Dave sucked at his job, right? And we got to start pumping in felons and people with hand tattoos, but now we can have hand tattoos, whatever. So we're pumping in all these people, right? Are we really
saluting hand, bro?
like
We're good.
and again, like with my back, I had a PA say, if I MRI your back right now with the sequester, they're going to kick you out. So I'm not going to MRI your back.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to shove Valium in you and drive the fuck on. And of course, I want to stay in. So I'm like, yeah, let's drive on. Right now, all of a sudden I wake up like 3 years later, I can't walk. It's like, maybe I should have got the MRI. Right.
Well,
but
Maybe you should have went drill or recruiting when I told you to, bro.
maybe the PA shouldn't have gave me an option. Right. Maybe the PA should have said, you're going to go get an MRI, dipshit. Right. And if it kicks you out, it's for the best, because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be broke the rest of your life. And
we
then
call
maybe
that cultural competency. We need cultural competency for military and veterans. We should have providers that are aware, hey, these are the common conditions you might see. Some of those things could have been some of them could have been fatal. If you don't catch stuff early enough, like you're saying, get left to bang, we absolutely need to be doing that.
Right.
And a lot of that starts within the Society of Veterans. So one of the questions that we asked our women warriors was, would you recommend military service to a young girl in your life? And Wall Street Journal did a fantastic article on this last year where they were just asking veterans if they would recommend military service. The answers it's exactly what you would think. It's a dumpster fire. You have some veterans that are like, yeah, absolutely. The military saved my life. I'm so happy I served. And you have some veterans who lived through some real harrowing experiences. And you can see it in the way they respond. I had a woman participant who said, I would absolutely recommend service. You're probably going to get raped, but you should still serve. Straight face the whole way. And that right there, that shows our society, we have a lack of cultural competency. And I want to point out specifically, MST is not just a women-only issue.
Hell no.
You're absolutely right. Yep.
Could be affected by that.
Males don't report. They just don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's
although
yeah.
to be fair, there's things that we did to each other, right? That now is MST. Then was sign of passage, right?
Oh, Nick.
Hey, the
saying.
UCMJ has been
Just
updated to
saying.
include sexual harassment. So just
I'm just saying. There's things, but I think I said that to somebody on the show a long time ago that I was like, what happened to me in high school was worse than what happened to you. And you're screaming about MST. Like, okay, chill out a little bit. But yeah, that's a little off the rocker there in the dumpster fire. But I think Brian decided, I think he chimed in earlier from the Appalachians. I can spell that because he wrote it, so I can read it. But he says, great show, excellent show. Thanks, Brian, one of our moderators on the page. That being said, those of you watching, listening for the first time, go to VTT Official. All right, it's our support group that you can go on there and just have a lot of fun. And then one day, if you're struggling with something, just throw it out there. Right, you're gonna have 100 people message you. All right, within seconds. So definitely go on there and give that a shot. Hey, buddy, how about an AAR?
Ooh, first of all, Dr. Walsh, how can people, female veterans that do want to take part in the initiative, where's the best place for them to go?
Wounded Warrior Project. We're all over socials. We're known as WWP. It's woundedwarriorproject.org. And we have a whole bunch of resources on there for all veterans, but especially for post 9/11 veterans. That's our primary population we serve. We're on Twitch. We have a great live stream and gaming team on Twitch that's constantly on there. We also have Instagram, X, all that stuff.
Do they need to go anywhere specifically when they go to the Wounded Warrior Project, like a drop-down menu or like something else to like get to the Wounded Warrior, the Wounded Warrior,
the Wounded Warrior Project Women Warriors Initiative? Big words, I got
so
you.
many W's. It's just so many W's at one time. It's like
Well,
anyway.
we try not to we call it WWP Women Warriors Initiative because we don't want to call it WWP WWI.
Yeah, it's so many W's. That's so many just regular U's put together. It's crazy. It's hard to do.
So we actually have our Women Warriors Initiative and our report from last year up on our website, and it's one of the top banners. So you just go to the website, woundedwarriorproject.org, and then it'll scroll right across your screen, and you can click on it. We also have a fantastic advocacy team. I'm part of the government affairs team, so I do a lot of the policy work. And we have a fantastic team, and we're expanding our grassroots network and are always looking at engaging with veterans in their communities who are strong advocates and interested in learning more.
Okay, so to kind of AAR this whole thing, first of all, Nick had his honesty. Well, his Book of Earl. Dave almost screwed me there real hard. Anyway, yeah. Nick had his Book of Earl, and treat people like you want to be treated, and be happy that if you have an orange wristband and go to the airport, apparently you can fly wherever you want, and your kids. So in business class, awesome.
Free drinks.
Yeah, with free drinks. If you go to if you look up Mohan Jindaro, you'll find that the U.S. beating them in cricket was not the first time they had been blasted on in the last 1,000 years. Boom! Yeah, USA. Cricket's our 40th most popular sport, and we rocked them. Just saying, go America. And then we had Dr. Walsh on, who has the Wounded Warriors Woman Warrior Initiative, and you can go to Wounded Warrior Project and look that up. It's one of the top banners. She just said that. She also was instrumental in protesting for the PACT Act, which helps all warriors. And Nick at one point asked a great question. I wrote that down. Nick asked a great question. I would say that he asked a great question because Aaron told him to ask the question. And I don't understand why Aaron wasn't just on the show instead of getting her hair done, whatever. Anywho, we had a great show. Dave said some things. It was real weird. He had a weird childhood in Germany where he had all the health care he wanted to have. And
it was great. It was great.
That's all I got.
That's and scoop waffles.
That's the AAR. That's the AAR right there. all wrapped
Dr.
up.
Walsh, final words for you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Thank you guys so much. I look forward to continuing to engage with women veterans. I'm on social as well. And love connecting with veterans and just being a part of the community.
Love it. Love it.